Yeah, look, I don't want to, in any shape or form disrespect the West Coast Eagles, but they are garbage. And honestly, if we don't knock those pricks over by at least 100 points, then I'm going to lose my shit.
This is absolutely Essendon. Well, there you have it. It was a little closer in the end than we anticipated. If you took the $1.04 that was available for the Bombers in that last 5 minutes, you would have been sweating like Jeff Fennick in a spelling bee.
Yeah, well,
that was hard to watch.
It was. It was hard to watch, and I think we've learnt a valuable lesson. I think we'd learnt that lesson probably 20 years ago now, that never expect anything too exciting from the Bombers. You know they're going to let you down when it matters the most, and they certainly did that with aplomb on the weekend.
We knew it in our hearts.
We did.
That we can never, but we're always just hopeful.
We all knew. Everybody knows it. It's
just hopeful that this time they really could have delivered on the shellacking.
Well, I'll tell you who does know that we're never going to do that. It's the opposition. Because I'm sure now there's the pre-game meeting amongst our opponents is always going to be, if you push these guys, they're going to fall over. And the Eagles, to their credit, were, in my opinion, the better team on the day. They certainly won 3 of the 4 quarters and made us look pretty average.
Well, not according to our coach, because when he was asked, he said that we definitely deserved to win.
Did he now?
Yeah, he said it was very clear for all to see.
The message was really clear: you get what you deserve in this competition, and but let's not kid ourselves. Ultimately, we did deserve to win the game.
Okay, so what would have he said if we had lost that game?
Yeah, I reckon.
Would he been cheeky enough to say we deserved to win it then? Because we may very well have lost that game had it not been for that last-minute goal from Kyle Langford, last 20 seconds goal from Kyle Langford.
And the mark by BZT. That was that was such a strong mark that because so easily. But no, I was really surprised by his response there to that, saying that I didn't feel like it was that clear cut that we deserved to win. And arguably there was a free kick that wasn't played to their player Long in their forward line with not a lot left to go. Right. We did okay out of the free kick, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, not sure about that. I mean, he was a bit tetchy, is that the word, in the press conference?
Tetchy, salty,
whatever.
But he was
like indignant
because the first question was, that was that game almost got away or something to that effect, and he was like, no, but it didn't.
He got triggered.
But it didn't.
It didn't get away.
Yeah.
Right. No, he's correct on a technicality there.
Yeah.
They won by 1 point against arguably the worst AFL side that has played in the competition since Fitzroy got booted out. So, and maybe even longer than that. This is a team that has been beaten regularly by 10 goals or more throughout the season.
Especially when they're played away.
And playing away. So I think Scott's putting on a brave face at best if he's saying that sort of thing. And I tell you, the Bradley Scott train has many, many fewer passengers than it had 6 or 7 weeks ago.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
He's here for the long haul. We hope that it's successful for him. But, I think it's time for Brad to kind of say it as it is, because you know what? He's letting the players off the hook a little bit. Now, he might be getting into them at training and after the game and ripping them a new one.
Yeah.
But I think a little public humiliation might be in order for our guys, because they play like rock stars. Well, they think they're rock stars, but they play like Wiggles.
Yeah.
This is the thing. They're not going out and playing that game with anywhere near the degree of passion and energy and intensity that they need to, regardless of the opposition. Yeah. And if anyone tells me that they didn't take the Eagles for granted, I'll be surprised, because they certainly did.
Yeah. So, but can I just also say that last week, if you remember, we mentioned that when they, any mention of the ladder, and he was all like vague and I don't know.
That's right.
Wouldn't even know.
He never looks at the ladder.
Yeah, no.
It distracts him.
Is there a ladder? I'm not sure. We're not about that. But this week he said, now we've won 10 games and we're in the hunt.
Oh, so he does look at the ladder.
Well, he seemed to this week. So,
Gosh.
It's things like that just, when you're a supporter, it's just a little irritating. You know what I mean? If you're going to stick to a story, then just stick to it. But Don't
Yeah,
fluctuate.
look, I mean, I know that Brad Scott, and he is very eloquent in his press conferences, certainly more so than recent coaches. But it's one thing to protect your players, and I get why coaches do that. They don't want to publicly shame the players. But this is Essendon that we're talking about here. As the coach, you've got to have some empathy towards the fan base.
Yeah.
There has been no fan base in the AFL that has stuck as fast as the Essendon supporters have with this team over 2 decades now, going through humiliation after humiliation. And we're kind of a little bit sick and tired of the, be patient. We're in a development phase. We need you to stand by us. We've been standing by this side for way too long. And I would be quite invigorated if Brad Scott was to turn around and just say, you know what, that was unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's not what we're trying to be.
Yes.
The players need to know that.
Sorry, Don supporters. I know you expected more. I know you were hoping for a bit more of a turnaround. We're going to work on the game plan that I thought we had. Maybe wasn't as good as I originally thought.
We will come to that game plan too. But I just want to add to that, you know what, if any of our little prima donnas don't like hearing that from the coach, you know where the door is. Sorry. Thank God you don't have Ron Barassi coaching you. Because, an old school coach, there would be so many bruised egos. They'd have to have special therapy classes for our squad if Ron Barassi was coaching that team.
Yeah.
It's time to get hard on these guys. Seriously, for the fans. Don't go around at the end of the game signing little mini footballs and handing them over thinking you're doing your job. That's not what we're here for. We're here to see a side play with commitment, with energy, with ferocity. And, hopefully next time we come up against the worst side that the AFL has seen in almost 40 years, you might actually get out there and flog them, because that's what you're meant to be doing. Let's talk about the game.
Wasn't the percentage boost that we were hoping?
No, it wasn't. And I just
you were expecting a little more than that.
Well, I think we all were. And, I wanted to come here today and not lose my shit, like I said I would.
But it's percolating.
It's starting to. I can feel that. Ooh, geez, that little cramps in my stomach there. The shit is on its way. I'll do my best to hold it. But let's ask. I want to ask the question though. So, why didn't we beat them by 10 goals? What happened in that game?
Yes.
And this is possibly where we come to the game plan and how we're executing the game plan.
Yes, that's right.
Because I don't think there is a game plan based on what I saw on the weekend.
Yeah, there's some concerns from my point of view. They were leading at quarter time.
They were.
They got on top. Our goals sort of seemed to come in clusters.
Well, it came in one burst, really, didn't it?
And then quiet for a hell of a long time, where it was just toing and froing, and we didn't quite know what was happening in that game. So when we go to let's talk about the forward 50 entries, because Mr. Scott got questioned by a journalist.
He did,
and he didn't like that questioning that approach into the forward 50.
No,
he said that's the least of our worries.
Your forward delivery seems to be a real issue in recent weeks, like the methodology, the sort of like bombing it long. Well, in the first quarter, it seemed to me that's what was happening, like the long kicking and to packs and marks being dropped and that sort of thing. Not much method. It did change in the second quarter, but is that not something that's, agree with that?
No.
Gosh. Well, what did he expect the journalist to ask? What's your recipe for scones? I mean, come on. Of course they're going to ask those questions. It's their job. Yeah. And it's your job to answer it honestly to us so we can understand what the hell's going on. Anyway, we've touched on that. But I just want to say on the point about the goal scoring, I mean, they won 3 of the 4 quarters.
Yeah.
We kicked 4 goals in 3 quarters. And it was only the second quarter where we kicked 6 that we actually looked like a side that was playing for a place in the finals.
Yeah.
And again, not taking anything away from West Coast, I actually thought they were bloody good. And, with a couple of their key players back, I think McGovern in particular did a good job. And Tim Kelly hitting peak Kelly form, Geelong level Kelly. He was fantastic and kind of ragdolled us out of the middle a little bit.
Big time.
But our inside 50s, just on that point, because, I don't think that was the problem this week. Our efficiency inside 50 this week was actually above AFL average. I think we were going in at 44%, which
Would
is
have been marginal,
well,
sure.
marginal is still above
Yeah.
average.
All right.
So,
Okay.
you know,
All right.
I thought our forward 50 entries were okay. Peter Wright's still struggling to mark the ball, but he did get a couple of grabs during this game, so that was promising.
Yeah.
And, of course, Kyle Langford has just gone to another... He's gone God level, Kyle Langford. And I tell you what, he's got to be in an All-Australian blazer at the end of the year, surely. I think he's fifth or sixth on the goal-kicking list
I
now.
don't know. I mean, I don't care about this All-Australian thing.
I know, but I do.
Because you get all wound up
Well,
about...
it gives Adrian Dodoro something to show off about, doesn't it?
Is
Oh,
it?
look, I picked him.
Oh, right.
And 9 years later, he's an All-Australian.
Oh.
Anyway, yes. So we're not inside 50s.
So what's the problem? Because we would send it down there and they would just cart it out ever so easily.
So here's the deal. Let me just quickly, before we get into where the problem is, I just want to say we won the clearances, 39 to 29 for this game.
Okay.
So it wasn't that. We
Wasn't
won
it?
contested possession in this game. Sorry, I'm just referring to the computer screen here. We won the contested possessions 132 to 97.
Right, okay, so it wasn't that.
No, I don't think it was.
Turnovers.
They were equal. I think it was 60 apiece.
Okay.
Tackles. We won that tackle count 60 to 46. So
I'm surprised by that.
Well,
it felt like less, but anyway.
You would think that on that alone that the pressure was being applied, but no, pressure was not being applied. And I think this is why Brad's got a little bit tetchy in the press conference.
We've got to look that word up.
He just quickly skimmed through the stats just like we have, and has gone, oh, well, we won all the stats. We deserve to win. No. And I tell you, there was one thing where we didn't win, and that was forward 50 pressure. And this is where I want to sort of have a bit of a discussion, because our forward 50 pressure was non-existent in this game. The ball was going in reasonably regularly and directed quite well. And then the minute it hits the ground, they were killing us on what's called ground ball gets.
Right.
And then the ease of transferring
GBGs.
They had a fantastic GBG rating.
Right.
And then their ability to move the ball out of defence efficiently. They were kicking the ball at 80% throughout the entire game. Finding guys out on their own.
Oh, mate, they were going coast to coast so easy.
It was literally west coast to coast.
Write that down.
Patent that. So, this is it. So tackles inside 50. We had 10 tackles inside 50. Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Right.
Who should be at the forefront of inside 50, forward 50 tackles for our team? Who should be doing that? Who's going to be hammering those tackles?
I would have thought that should be young Guelphy should be contributing.
You'd think so?
I would have thought Menzies should be chipping in.
Well, that's what he's there for.
Right.
How do you reckon they went?
Davey, when he went on the ground, how did they go?
Davey was only on the ground for a quarter, but I take your point.
All right.
But let's talk about Guelphy and Menzies doing the one you got one job thing,
Oh, right. Okay.
How many tackles do you reckon those two guys had?
5 each.
No, lower.
Oh, really? So all of a sudden, surprise is right.
It is. Well, the tackles are right. Well, I can tell you right now, they had between them 3 tackles for the entire game. Your two pressure forwards laying only 3 tackles. I know Menzies got the handball over to Langford in the last minute. But you can't be walking around the change room all sort of cocky because of that. You've got to be hanging your head in shame, Jai. If you're going to be an AFL standard footballer, a small forward, you need to be laying more than 1 tackle in an entire game.
Right.
And so this is my point. We are not a team that can defend our forward 50. We are not a team that can defend transition from our forward 50 to the opposition's forward 50.
Yeah.
And we're
been struggling in that
shit
area.
at that for so many years now. And it's the one thing that's stopping this side from actually becoming a serious finals contender, because right now we're not. This game plan is not a finals resilient game plan.
Doesn't seem like it's going to hold up. But in defence of that, I think what they point to is, we got close with Port Adelaide. We did well against the Pies. That'll be tested again in 2
Is that
or
a
3
mental
weeks.
thing? Is that we lift for the tough opposition and we go to sleep when
Yeah.
We think we're just going to roll over
That's
someone.
what Brad Scott was suggesting in the press conference.
Oh, so you'd say something, mate.
That he said that the players were just thinking you can just turn up and
Well, isn't that a coaching issue?
Well, I would have thought so. I absolutely would. But then he was defensive to say that, I know we definitely discussed that,
Did he?
Can't just turn up. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Again,
I really don't know if they're listening. I don't know what the message is.
Then piss them off. Put them in the reserves.
Yeah.
And let's bring in some guys who want to be AFL footballers, because that was shameful. Just the failure to apply that defensive pressure.
Yeah.
It just says to me, you're way ahead of yourself as a footballer. You've got to do the hard work.
In the last quarter, it just seemed like Zach Merritt was just leading by example again, but
Yeah.
no one was looking at him going, laying those tackles going, maybe I need to chip in.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go help him out a little bit.
You could see his frustration.
Yeah.
I was at
Yeah.
the game, and there were a couple of moments where he just hung his head at some of the efforts from his teammates. And if Brad Scott's not ripping into those players, I hope Zach is, because I tell you what, Zach Merritt has standards that are up here. The team average is somewhere down here, and he's got to go to those guys individually and say, you're not playing like that again. You need to be harder at the ball. You need to do your job and make yourself into a decent footballer. They get paid good money. We're not asking much, but an effort like that on the weekend was shameful.
Right. Now,
it was shameful.
Let's go to some of the more. What about up in ruck? How did we go in the ruck there with our combo? Ruck combo?
You want some silver lining? I'll give you some silver lining.
Right.
We just absolutely dominated the hit-outs. I think the total for the game was 52-13. So
Right.
Phillips and Bryan did a really good job. And I just want to say, Nick Bryan, he's just continuing to
Yeah.
improve. Little steps. It's
Yes.
nothing huge.
Incremental.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he only had 50% time on ground.
Yeah, right.
So what's going on?
Yeah.
Why not give the guy 60-70% time on ground and give him a chance to... This is the development. Brad keeps talking about, I love developing players. Well, develop them. Put them out on the field and let them perform. But
So
we did
hit-out stats, so that
Yeah.
would have flowed through to centre clearances, I would imagine.
No, not at all. Not at all. Centre clearances were pretty even. In fact, I think they had a slight margin on top of us. But what are you trying to say? What are you insinuating?
Well, I have mentioned in the past this whole ruck caper, I think, gets talked up a little too much, and there's a glaring example.
So
That's what I'm
your
saying.
answer is just give the opposition the ball and let them have it?
Take it in turns.
Oh, like the NFL when you kick off.
Yeah.
Or the soccer even.
Yeah,
After the
whatever.
goal, you get to kick off.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it.
Fair
There you
enough.
go.
See how that works.
You get it.
Let's run a vote on that. Eh? Let's see what the pundits
Well,
out there have to say
anyway.
about that. So anyway,
Okay.
we won the hit-outs. I think at
Right.
one stage we had 14 hit-outs to advantage to their nil.
Oh, man.
So they were hitting their marks. But again, there's just not the level of delivery out of the middle that's doing the job. I thought we had some very good players. Do you want to go through some of those guys?
I did. Hey, let's talk about Nick Hind, because often we get into him for perhaps turning over the ball or trying to take a run, do a bit of dash from the half-back flank and inevitably get caught because everyone expects him to run like the wind. But boy, he racked up a lot of possessions,
He did,
and we want to keep him on the ground, don't we?
I would have thought so. I mean, a couple of years ago we had a half-back line which was Connor McKenna and Adam Sard, and they were fantastic as a pair, running off that back line with pace, bouncing the ball, and no longer with us, of course, but both doing very well at their respective clubs at the moment. We kind of still have that, though, with Redman and Hind. And I mean, Hind's been a little patchy this year, but he certainly showed what he can do in the game against the Eagles. I think he had 31 possessions, and he was the game-high metres gained. I think it was in excess of 500 metres.
Half a K.
Yeah, so
nice.
That's not bad. And he was just constantly challenging the opposition. He was creative. And he was kicking the ball at about 80% efficiency. So I think his best game... Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay.
It was his best game of the year. Why would you even question that?
I just thought I'd push back a little.
You've ever watched The Rain Man?
You just say, okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't allowed to refer to The Rain Man the last episode. You said that was,
yeah, but you were doing it in a kind of a demeaning way, by doing the voice thing, I remember.
Oh, well, no. Well,
you did.
It was just...
I can play the video if you
Right.
want.
Let's go to the video.
No, we won't be doing that.
Okay.
So anyway, Nick Hine was
Okay.
very good. Who else did you like?
Well, Langford we've already talked
Yeah.
about, but God, do we need him? Imagine life without him. Can you just imagine? Can you just imagine?
No, I can't.
What a horror movie.
But what
it would
I
be.
can't imagine is actually saying, "Can you imagine life without Kyle Langford?" As little as 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I would have gone, "Oh God, wouldn't that be a pleasure?"
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying that.
No,
but anyway,
I was.
Yes, all right, okay.
But
anyway.
point being,
Yes.
what a turnaround he has given us in the last couple of years.
Yes. Now, let's get on to Parrish, because again, there were people getting stuck into him.
You don't want to talk about Zerk Thatcher?
Oh, no, I want to.
Oh, okay, fine.
I want to talk about Parrish first.
We'll jump the running order then.
Yes, as if that's
No,
ever
people
mattered.
know that there's a running order.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't-
Do you think?
I think
they
they-
don't think this is improv.
They know how shambolic this is. So the Parrish, people are getting stuck into him.
They are. Yeah.
I still say, I don't know the stats, you will know them. He's net positive, massive net positive.
Well, there's Qantas Airlines.
Yes, all right, okay. Yeah,
So what's the question?
what do you want to say?
I'm asking you what the question is.
Well, are people right in having a go at him because of the occasional turnover?
Yes and no.
That's no freaking answer. That's a splinter in your ass answer.
So this is
sitting on the fence.
It's a simple yes or no question?
Yes.
Well, the answer is yes and no. I can't give you a simple yes or a simple no. It's a bit of both. And let's have a look at his game. He had 33 possessions. He was the highest possession getter on the ground. Well, yes, actually, I think he was the highest. I think Tim Kelly had 31.
Yeah.
And he was going at about 60% efficiency, which isn't great, to be honest, but it was better than the Sydney Swans game. He was less than 60% in that game. So I think this is really the Darcy Parish we have to now learn to embrace. Is he's going to get a lot of the ball and he's going to be going at lower than elite level disposal efficiency. But when you're getting the ball 35 times, they're still getting 20 to 25 disposals that are hitting the target.
Yes.
And if you've got a player in your team that can average 25 disposals a week that hits the target, that guy's going to be a champion, right?
Right.
I think the fact is that he's going to turn the ball over a few times in a game because he's in pressure situations. Not always. Sometimes he just misses the target. He's human. But I thought his game on the weekend was actually pretty good. And I'm seeing a lot of people criticising it, and I'm trying to understand the reasons why.
Right. And let's not forget, he was the one that got the ball out of the centre in
He
the
was.
last clearance.
Yeah.
And how valuable
Yeah.
was that? When
I've got
game
some
was
interesting
31?
figures on that, if I could just jump in on that.
Please.
So you
share.
talk about kicks inside 50. Darcy had 7 kicks that went inside the 50, which is pretty good on its own. 2 of those kicks resulted in goals, not from him, but from players that he delivered the ball to. 2 of the kicks were behinds, and 3 were turnovers. So I'd say that's
Right.
pretty much a positive outcome.
Yeah.
To get 2 goals from your deliveries inside 50.
Yes.
Zach Merritt had... Now, Zach was probably the best player on the ground. He had 5 inside 50s.
Right.
Not one of them resulted in a goal. Or a behind, for that matter.
Ah.
So people...
The defence rests, your worship.
I think it's a pretty good defence because everyone's loving Zach, and quite rightly too.
Yeah.
But Darcy cops this incredible criticism because he might have 2 or 3 clangers, some real horror kicks in a game. But, when you get the ball that many times, that's going to happen. So
Do you still want to trade him?
Look, my view on that is it all comes down to what you get. Any player is tradable, right? Any player has worth. And if someone was to come to us and say, well, look, here's 2 first-round draft picks for Darcy Parish, given what's available in the draft this year, and I know that's another discussion, you'd have to think about it because whilst he's a terrific player, we do have guys coming through that will be able to fill that role in the future.
All right.
And on that point,
Okay.
I'd like to mention one of them, which was Elijah Sartis.
Yes.
How did you think he went?
Yeah, he started, a little slow, but worked his way into the game, and I thought the signs were incredibly positive.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
He was a bit slow, but, you
Yeah.
can understand
Yeah,
that. can't
mate, big time. It's on the big stage,
It was, yeah.
Everyone's going to
Yeah.
get a bit nervous, fluff a few lines,
Sure.
to be expected. But
Yeah.
but by the end of it, he was getting busy.
He took a few pretty decent marks,
Yeah,
I thought.
yeah.
Big, strong marks. And, there was I think it was in the third quarter, I can't remember which quarter, but he got the ball, was running into the forward 50 and took a shot at goal. And, the crowd just erupted. I mean, there was no reason to cheer during that game, but there was that one moment
that was
where
nice.
The crowd got off the seats, and unfortunately it went through for a behind.
Yeah, that would have been a nice moment.
It would have been good for our multi as well, but we'll come back to that.
No.
So I thought T was very good, and I thought Nick Cox also was showing a little bit more. He's a work in progress. Nick Cox has got to be given another couple of pre-seasons, but I thought he was pretty good. What did you think?
I'm not as converted as you.
No?
Jury's still out for me on that one. That's all I'll say on that.
Fair enough. Look, I certainly can understand some people looking at him with trepidation because, again, being a high draft pick, everyone expects him to be Chris Judd from day one or Adam Goods or whoever you want. But let me just say this. He is a 200-centimetre kid. He's still finding his size. That will come. He may never be a monster, but he's certainly going to get bigger as his body matures. And I think after having been out of the game for more than a year and a half, it's going to take some time for him to get his confidence back because he took a bit of a hammering as a young kid. I think he was overplayed by Rutten in his first season. Yeah, right. And which resulted in all sorts of problems. So I think give the kid a chance. If he can become half the player we're hoping for, he will be a very good player for us. Yeah. And I think it was exciting to see him just getting a little bit better, and he has in the 2 or 3 games that he's played so far.
Right. Okay. So what about the Zerk? I mean, we mentioned at the start taking that very, very valuable mark, but in general, because he hasn't re-signed as yet.
No, he hasn't.
There's some question marks over there. Some people are still saying we can afford to lose him, get rid of him almost.
They are they?
There are the harsh people.
Are they Port Adelaide supporters?
Possibly getting in there, lurking, spreading that,
lurking for the Zerking,
spreading that misinformation. Yeah. But I mean, apart from that goal at the end, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, look, he's been so good this year. I mean, if only God had gifted him with another 2 inches. I mean, up top, not down below. All right. I know. So this is not made for children, actually. No. Although some people might have their kids gathered around the fireplace watching,
listening.
Absolutely, Essendon's
It's
on.
Uncle DT around the campfire.
God, you wouldn't put me near their kids. So anyway, Zerk Thatcher, his contract expires at the end of the season. He has not had that renewed as yet, obviously. Port Adelaide are looking for a defender. They're also interested in Asava or Atagalia. But Zerk Thatcher, he wouldn't have done himself any disservice with his performance on the weekend. I think he might be looking for another $50,000 a year after that performance. Yes. He was fantastic. I've not seen a guy who can spoil the ball as effectively as he does. Yeah. And he's a clutch defender.
Yeah, he is. Honestly, in those dying moments, you saw him line up that ball and he said, I'm not going to fist this. No, too dangerous. Yep. This ball is mine. And he took it. Loved it.
He could well have, and we would have allowed him to have fisted it.
Yes, that's right.
Because he's very good at that.
Yes.
But he had the IQ, the footy IQ, to know that in that game situation, he had to mark the ball.
Yes.
He couldn't just knock it down and let it land somewhere.
No, because they would have pounced. And they would have pounced. I think they would have. It would have been game over.
If we don't sign him up, regardless of the plans to bring in a Ben Mackay, but I mean, I've got no problem with Ben Mackay, but we're only getting him because we're scared of Tom Hawkins. Right? Yeah. Tom Hawkins will be gone in a year.
You reckon?
Yeah.
So we'll just punt on him retiring, and
that's as good a strategy as any, I think. But no, we've got guys coming through now. I know people are probably over Zach Reid, but give Zach Reid a chance, just like we have with Nick Cox. Zach Reid's a 203-centimetre defender. He's looking bigger. Some of the photos I've seen of him.
We're not giving many other players a chance who are probably further in the queue than Zach Reid.
No, but if you're talking, I'm talking about the big monster kind.
Yeah.
He's at Harris Andrews, Zach Reid. He could be anything for us. So please, Get Zirk Thatcher signed up. He can hold the fort for us until Zach Reed's ready to step in. And then there's Lewis Hayes, who's also showing quite a bit as a young kid in the VFL side.
I've heard that.
He's over 200 centimetres.
Yeah.
Still skinny. He's a Dustin Fletcher type player, but we've got the defenders. If we're going to throw $800,000 at somebody, get another key forward. It's simple, Dodoro. It's simple. Don't be spending. I mean, without disregarding the value of a good defender, it's a hell of a lot easier to convert someone into a defender than to convert them into a forward. Yeah. Forward players are worth their weight in gold, and that's where our money should be.
Very true.
Sign Zirk Thatcher. Don't let him go anywhere. He is an absolute gem.
On that note, now, you had a player like Tim Kelly just ripping us apart, right? Especially in that last quarter.
He was brilliant.
We decided to not really do much about that, just let him go about his way.
Yeah.
Last week, Goulden also just running around free. We don't seem to, I know we've had this discussion before, but this is all about game day coaching. We don't seem to sort of put anyone on them. Why do you think that is?
Well, they're pretty good players, both of those two, aren't they? I mean, Tim Kelly he's had a pretty mixed bag of performances since he went back to West Coast, but we saw prime Geelong Tim Kelly against us on the weekend.
Yeah, but on that note, Nick Dacos, right? The Hawks beat Collingwood unexpectedly.
Rest in peace. Hopefully, hopefully he hasn't got our physios helping.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, no, he won't have. He'll be back in 2 weeks. But yeah, the Hawks won that game, and one of the reasons why is they got all over Nick Dacos, managed him out of the game, right? They made that decision.
He fractured his kneecap.
No, but up until that point, his stats were...
Oh, right. I didn't see the game. So.
Yeah, well, they were. Take my word for it. Okay? So there's a decision that coach has made, but we continue to not do that. What is the deal with that?
Oh, look,
for the love of God, why can't we? Don't give me this Rob Peter to pay Paul bullshit.
Sure. Well, we're hoping to get Brad Scott in the studio at some stage. And we will,
he'll be a very willing guest.
After the intro for this video, he may be rethinking that. But Brad, don't worry, we're still fans. But yeah, when we get Brad into the studio, we will ask him that question because he has some pretty strong views on the value of tagging.
Right.
Now, Tim Kelly, who could we run with Tim Kelly? I don't know. We've got a player that's physically able to do that. Caldwell was a bit sore and I think got subbed.
Is that why he got subbed? Because I was blown away by that decision. It had to be injury related, surely.
He was pretty poor in this game.
Yeah, he wasn't great. But coming off the game that he had last week, you'd leave someone like that on, surely.
Well, not if he's injured. I mean, he was...
Well, okay. Well, you're assuming that he's injured. Has anyone come out and said he was injured?
No.
Right. So this is just an assumption.
There's a pretty reasonable assumption to say that he's carrying something or he was a bit sore during the game. But no, I hear your point.
All right. Well, we'll leave that to our conditioning coaches to get on top of that.
Look, we've got to find that big-bodied midfielder. I hate that expression, big-bodied midfielder. But the reality is we don't have one. Well, we do have one, and he played in the VFL on the weekend and was pretty impressive. And that's... would you believe it? He's come back from the dead.
Who?
Will Satterfield.
Oh!
Hey? He could start his own religious cult coming back from the dead.
Sure.
Someone else did that once.
The Messiah.
He did.
Yes. Yeah.
A few thousand years ago. But,
I remember that guy.
Yeah.
We're going to need him against the Roos. We are.
Well, he might come straight back in.
Please come straight back in.
Particularly if Caldwell gets a rest this weekend.
Right.
So Satterfield might come straight back in.
Yeah. Anyway.
I know we've got our preview show to do later in the week, but it was pretty good to see him back and playing for the Bombers.
Right. Yes.
And
it was. We are going to need him.
We will.
So okay, I think was there anything more that we need to cover as part of this review?
Well,
I think it's been.
We're still in the hunt. That's it. We're still in the hunt.
To quote the great man.
Well, maybe not so great, but...
our percentage went from 98.5 to 98.58.
Wow. That's really challenging the abacus, isn't it? Huh? We are still in the hunt, and we have a North Melbourne game coming up this week, and then the GWS away, and then the rapidly sinking Pies.
Yeah.
Sons, Nick Dacos, and Murphy,
and that Murphy guy. Yes.
So Sons, by the way, is
French for
is it French?
Without.
Without. I was going to say, okay, fair enough.
All right.
Sons,
just
Nick
say
Dacos.
Without, mate.
All right. I'm just trying to sound intellectual.
Right.
And who knows? We could go through the last three games winning all of them. Who knows? With Essendon, it's always difficult to say. But the reality is
we do know,
we are,
and that won't happen.
Okay.
Okay?
Jesus.
Let me just shut that
Mood
right
killer.
down now.
Mood
Okay?
killer.
Oh, but seriously, we're going to go from a 1-point last gasp victory over the Eagles to winning 3 in a row.
Hey,
That's going to happen, is it?
It's the wake-up call.
Oh,
Actually, you only get wake-up calls when you've won 20 games in a row, don't you?
yeah.
When you're getting a bit arrogant. No,
Yes.
Look, we will hopefully learn from this game against the Eagles. And let's hope at training they work a little on their defensive pressure and their ability to defend against teams transitioning the ball.
Please.
That's it. Do that. We'll be a much better
How's
side.
Tipper been going? Could he help with that, do you think?
No, he was not going. No, he's not
Okay.
going. I think we'll do a special show on Waller.
Right.
When his second retirement is announced,
Oh,
because
really?
I really cannot see him getting back, and that breaks my heart to say that.
That does.
Yeah.
That is heartbreaking. Yes.
He's just not making any progress.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the percentage
Well,
booster that we were hoping for, that you demanded?
I did, and I think we all did.
They really responded.
No, they didn't, and as probably was to be expected in the long run. So anyway, we move on.
Okay.
Like I said, the season's still alive. We've got 3 games to go. And look, win, lose or draw. I mean, I hate it when the footy season comes to an end. Particularly as an Essendon supporter.
We won't know what to do with ourselves.
Because then you've got what? You've got netball and
Spring Racing Carnival.
I'm not a fan of racing. I know you love it, but
No, I'm not.
we should think about perhaps doing a
maybe we'll do one for the
Spring Racing
for
Carnival show.
that week.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. How can we tie it back to Essendon?
absolutely racing.
Okay.
Eh?
No, I don't know.
We
That's
just
really-
bet on the
I don't
horses with the red and black silks.
Okay.
What about that?
It's probably a good a system as
It
any.
might work, actually.
It might come off a treat.
Didn't Mackay Diva have black and red?
Oh no, she had blue. She had blue.
It
was blue, red, and blue.
What about
red, and white?
black
Blue, red,
caviar?
and white. I think.
That was the
black caviar.
Winks.
That was a bad salmon colour and
Oh,
black.
jeez, and Winks.
The Winks, blue. No, I don't know.
Oh, we'll come back.
That'll
Anyway,
do. Okay. No one cares.
We're
mate.
rambling. That's,
No,
that's
we
officially.
are.
People have clicked off by now. So,
They have long ago.
shall we say goodbye?
I think we shall.
All right.
Goodbye.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye for now.